All right, somehow moving on from Matt Shane, let's kick it on down to College Station, where, man, I get a kick out of anytime I post something about Texas A&M. You know, you would think maybe it's just my followers because I assume I don't have a lot of Longhorns in my mentions, thank God. But anytime I mention something about Texas A&M, who do you think is the first one to jump in there and call out Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies for losing all these games?
LSU.
And that's something here old Jimbo was asked about. You know, you got all this LSU stuff behind you. Does that lock you into the Aggies? This was an incredible response here from the head coach down there at Texas A&M.
This is nice for you, everything, new contract, LSU stuff out of the way, everything's settled in. Is this what's most fun for you now, settling in and knowing everything?
I was settled in before, you just didn't believe me.
Okay, so
I told y'all that. No, but yet no, bull baloney. Don't. All right, you hear what he said? What? Don't sit there and get yourself caught. Don't sit there and get yourself caught in a lie. Don't. You won't be. Blah, blah, blah.
I'll be asking those questions moving forward.
All right.
Having to answer those questions.
Well, yeah. I mean, wait. Yeah. No, hopefully you're not. But you don't. How do you know you don't have 2 great years? Somebody says, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that you can't. But just what you say and what you do is, I mean, honestly, I love being here. Like I said before, we got a lot of work to do and to achieve what we need to achieve, but we can do it, and it's a great place to be.
So how about it, Shane? I mean, he was trying to tell us the whole time he's locked in, and I just think it's hilarious. And maybe LSU, just maybe they got a better hire here with Brian Kelly. I mean, you can't knock that man's resume either. So I'm not really saying one against the other, but you know, I did not. Maybe I underrated this Texas A&M LSU rivalry because, you know, going back to that the SEC scheduling model we had, you know, I took A&M LSU out, and my God, I mean, both sides were pissed off on that thing. I mean, Texas A&M LSU, they got to play annually. Now we add a little bit more fuel to the fire because LSU, hell, Coach O had already been fired, yet he turned around and beat Jimbo. Then Jimbo went out and turned around and stole Max Johnson away, as well as Jake Johnson, the number 1 tight end in the country from LSU. And now we got these coaching rumors. You know, they tried to get him. They couldn't get him. But, man, this is just going to, like I said, put so much extra fuel on one of the growing rivalries in the SEC. And I don't even know if I got a question on this one, Shane, but just your thoughts on the back and forth between A&M and LSU this offseason.
Well, first off, on that clip, I mean, every coach is staying until they leave. You know? I'm sure it's one of those that Jimbo absolutely loves where he's at, but I'll hear the offer, you know? Right. And I guarantee if it was lucrative enough or guaranteed money like some of these contracts we're starting to see come out of the NFL, Jimbo may have said, well, okay, yeah, let's do it. So I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm completely speculating, but I would imagine that Jimbo still entertained the offer at least. So to say that he was never leaving, that's crazy talk to me because everybody's got a price. Mm-hmm. Even the great Nick Saban, you know, if they offered him enough, I guarantee you'd at least consider. No, maybe not Nick Saban. I mean, he's built something pretty damn sweet down there. Okay, maybe that was a bad example, but anyone else, yeah, I think they would entertain it. But as far as this rivalry, you know, when you have a couple of really good games, when you have a couple of storylines coming out between 2 programs, you can easily create, I guess you would say, a rivalry here because you got to remember we all have short attention spans.
Yeah,
we only think about the last 3 to 4 years. That's like these diehard. You know, I hate to go to Tennessee and Alabama, but you know, some of those guys they remember trade. You know. Oh, shit, let me go back with that. Some of these older guys, they remember, you know, every year not knowing who's going to win that game, and it was a huge rivalry. Yeah. You know, I remember my parents talking about it and getting on to other people at church and stuff about it. Maybe they were a Tide fan or something. Didn't talk that Sunday after the game, but But now it's different. It's been so long since that game was even relevant, But I guarantee that if it got back into you don't know who's going to win this thing 3 or 4 years, then all of a sudden we're talking about it being one of the greatest rivalries. That's exactly what it is. It's a short attention span. It wasn't that long ago. National champs, I mean, these. That's what this is about, and then you factor in stealing players and coaches and coming after each other's coaches. That right there is just going to fuel it. And online, brother, these guys absolutely hate each other.
Yeah, there is no doubt. And here, speaking of Max Johnson, Jimbo also a little bit of not much of a nugget, but asked about the quarterback competition, asked about Max Johnson and that experience and the competition right there in College Station this spring.
How hard are you pushing the quarterback room coach right now?
I mean, you're pushing everything. I mean, all battles. I mean, every day those guys are doing a really nice job, and we rotate them with different mixes and different groups. One day's different fields, so they're with different coaches and how they do things, and just seeing their leadership and their command. And that's the big thing. First of all, is the command, leadership, and the competitiveness in which they can exert and the influence they have on the other players, as long as their own execution. I mean, we talk about their own execution, but you got to have that confidence. The players got to have that confidence, and all three guys have had experience and are very natural at it.
Connor holding his own?
It's not necessarily your system, obviously, with Max Johnson, but how valuable is that experience? I know you weigh that or value that experience, that SEC experience that he's gotten over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. Being able to play in games, that's an advantage. I mean, there's no doubt. But, I mean, that's not a tell-all, but at the same time, he's done some things. And you can see, I think sometimes if he misses a play or something, the ability to come right back and make another play, I think some of that maturity. But of course, Haynes has always done that. Haynes was doing that in camp while he was starting for us, and then doing bowl practice last week when he started to come back, he was starting to, you started to saw that. And I think Connor does it very naturally. I tell you what, he does some things now just, they instinctively, and how you do things and throws and reads and eyes, and man, he's a very natural player too. So that room is going to be very interesting. But Max is doing a nice job too.